At my dad's funeral, my brother whispered, "You need to leave his house." I took care of Dad alone, paid every bill. I packed my bag and left in silence. A month later, he regretted everything. "Hey there, we're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know." Now let's get into the story. "You're in the way of us moving on," my brother said at our father's funeral. "You need to move out of his house." I hadn't even laid the flowers on the grave yet, and he was already dividing up the inheritance. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm. "I've been the one taking care of him for the past 2 years. Where were you, Max? When Dad got sick, I quit my job and moved back home. He was old, proud, and stubborn. He never asked for help, but I could see him fading." Max, my younger brother, lived just one city over, but he barely showed up. Sometimes he'd call, but there was always some excuse. Work, the kids, traffic. I never blamed him. Honestly, not everyone can face watching a parent die. But I did. I washed Dad's back. I helped him to the bathroom at night. I sat with him in the ICU and listened as he mumbled my mother's name in his sleep. He died in my arms. I didn't cry. I just held his hand until it went cold. At the funeral, Max approached me like he had a plan already. The house, he said, needed to be sold. Split the money 50/50ths. I asked him, "Do you really think this was 50/50? He scoffed, said it wasn't the time to argue over who did what. Said he wasn't to blame for having a family and not being able to drop everything. Then he added, "But you could. That's on you." I went home in silence, to the house that still smelled like Dad. His blanket was still folded on the chair. Everything reminded me of those painful, sacred 2 years. The next day I got a letter from a lawyer. Max filed for inheritance. He wanted his half. I didn't fight him. I sold my car, found a small apartment on the edge of town, and signed the damn papers. I gave him the house. Let him have the walls. Let him have the closet full of clothes he hadn't seen once in 2 years. Let him feel like he won. I just didn't want to share a roof, or air, or even a last name with him anymore. A month later, he texted me. Said he couldn't sell the house. Neighbors were telling buyers not to buy. Told them he was selling out his father's memory. That Dad died in that house, and it felt wrong. I didn't reply. Let him live with that. Now I live in a tiny apartment. I've got a kettle, a bookshelf, and a photo of Dad on the shelf. Every evening, I make a cup of tea, the way he liked it, and I set out a second cup, just out of habit. I'm not angry. I'm just free. A few weeks after I moved out, I got a message from Max. "I think we should talk." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was surprised. Deep down, I knew this day would come. But I also knew it wouldn't be a real apology. Not from him. We met at a diner, one of those old ones near the train tracks where the coffee is bitter and the booths squeak. I sat by the window. He came in late, of course, looking like he hadn't lost a single night of sleep. He smiled like nothing had happened. "I didn't handle things well," he said, like we had a minor disagreement. "Neither did I," I replied flatly. But I wasn't going to give him the comfort of thinking we were equals in this. Then he launched into it. How the house reminded him of Dad too much. How he thought it would be better for both of us to move on. How he panicked when he filed the claim. I listened, but it felt distant, like I was watching someone act out guilt, not feel it. Then he said it. "I thought maybe if I got the house, I could make up for not being there when it mattered." That stopped me cold. For a second, I wanted to believe him. But then I remembered all the nights I sat alone next to Dad's bed, listening to him wheeze in his sleep, not knowing if he'd wake up the next morning. No one was there but me. So I asked him, "Do you regret what you did, or just how it looked?" He didn't answer right away. That was the only honest part of the conversation. "I don't know," he finally said. And that told me everything I needed. I paid for my coffee, stood up, and said, "I hope one day you do." He didn't try to stop me. He just stayed there, staring down into his cup like maybe there was something at the bottom worth finding. That was the last time I saw him. We haven't spoken since. Not because I'm angry, like I said, I'm not, but because there's nothing left to say. Some people lose you in one moment. Others lose you slowly, over years, until one day you just walk away. And you never go back. "There's something he left for you," she said. But I wasn't going to give it. A few days after that meeting with Max, I got a call from someone I hadn't heard from in months, our mom. I let it go to voicemail at first. I wasn't sure I had the energy, but curiosity got the better of me later that evening. I just thought you should know. Her voice crackled through the speaker. There's something your father left for you. I wasn't going to give it to you. But maybe I should. That alone told me everything. That it wasn't something small. If she had chosen to keep it hidden all this time, it mattered. I met her the next morning. Neutral Ground, the park bench behind our old church, where they used to take us every Sunday until we were old enough to say no. She didn't look like herself. A little more gray, a little more tired, but still sharp in the eyes. She didn't waste time. She reached into her bag and handed me an envelope. Yellowed. Sealed. Dad's handwriting. My name on the front. Nothing else. She didn't speak while I opened it. Inside was a single page. Folded 3 times. Handwritten. Neat, but shaky. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I asked your mother to give this to you, whether she does or not. Well, that's out of my hands. I know I wasn't always the easiest man, but in those last few months, you gave me more comfort than I ever deserved. You gave me peace. You gave me dignity. You're not just my son. You're the best of me. Whatever happens after I'm gone, the house, the money, the stories people will tell, know that I saw you. All of you. And I left this world proud of who you became. My eyes blurred halfway through. I folded the letter back slowly, like it might tear from the weight of it all. She looked at me, not crying, not apologizing, just watching. I didn't give it to you because I didn't think you'd need it, she said quietly. But now, maybe I was wrong. I nodded. You were. She didn't argue, didn't try to fix anything, just stood up, patted her coat, and walked away without another word. That letter now sits in a frame on my shelf. Not to remember Dad's death, but to remember that someone saw me. That in a house full of silence and sacrifice, someone actually noticed. And that's all I ever really wanted. He wasn't coming back for me. He was coming back for himself. It had been over a month since the letter. I thought things had finally quieted down. My phone didn't buzz, no surprise visits, no more emotional weight being dropped at my door. But then Max showed up again. Not a call this time. Not a message. He just showed up. Outside my apartment building. Standing next to his car like he was delivering a package he didn't want to carry. I stood on the curb, arms crossed. Can we talk? He asked. About what? The part where you tried to cut me out of Dad's life, or the part where you tried to erase me from his house? He winced, but I could see it in his eyes, not guilt. Just discomfort. We went to a bench nearby. No point letting him into my space. I saw Mom, he said. She told me about the letter. I didn't respond. I don't think he ever wrote one for me. Still, I said nothing. Because what do you say to that? Sorry Dad didn't validate you after you abandoned him? I've been thinking, he continued, about how we were raised, about what we turned into. I almost laughed. You came here for a therapy session or a confession? He sighed. Look, I know I screwed up. I know I wasn't there. But you don't get to act like you're the only one who lost a father. That's when I realized why he was really there. He wanted to be forgiven, not because he regretted what he did, but because he couldn't stand the idea that he was the bad son. He didn't care about me. He cared about the story people told about us. The one where I was the one who stayed, and he was the one who disappeared. So I told him the truth. I'm not mad anymore, Max. That part's over. But I'm not going to lie to you. Dad died thinking I was the one who stood by him. Because I was. You weren't there. That's not a story. That's what happened. He looked down, jaw tight, like I'd punched him without raising a hand. Before he left, he handed me something small. A box. These were Dad's, he said. Found them in the drawer after the house cleared out. Thought maybe you should have them. Inside, a pair of cufflinks. Simple, silver, engraved. I'd never seen them before. Probably something Dad wore in his better days, before the hospital gowns and oxygen tanks. I held them in my palm, and for a second, I almost felt something close to gratitude. But then I looked at Max. You gave up the house, Max. You didn't have to give me his dignity too. And with that, I walked away. Again. Later that night, I placed the cufflinks next to the letter. 2 small things that told the same story. He remembered. He saw. He trusted me. Dad said you left Grandpa to die alone. Is that true? It came out of nowhere, a message request on Facebook from a kid I barely knew. Max's son, Nathan. 16. I hadn't seen him in years. His profile picture was a school portrait. The kind with a forced smile and nervous eyes. I clicked into the message, expecting maybe a hi, or something harmless. But instead, it hit me like a brick. Hey, Dad said you walked out on Grandpa when he got sick. That you couldn't handle it. Is that true? My stomach dropped. Max was rewriting history. Again. But this time, it wasn't for himself. It was for his kid, to protect his image. To bury what really happened under a layer of, your uncle's the selfish one. And it was working. At least for now. I stared at the message for a long time. At first, I wanted to ignore it. Not my kid. Not my circus. But then I thought about the letter. About the cufflinks. About the quiet way Dad had told me. I saw you. And I realized I had a choice. Stay silent. Or let someone else know the truth. Not for revenge. Not to make Max look bad. But so one person in that family line grew up with clarity, not delusion. So I wrote back. Your grandfather didn't die alone. I was with him. Every night. Every hospital visit. Every meal he couldn't finish. Your dad wasn't there. He had his reasons. Maybe they made sense to him. But the truth? He wasn't around. I'm not telling you this to make you hate him. I'm telling you this because you asked. And you deserve an honest answer. A few hours later, Nathan replied. Thanks. That's all. Just one word. But sometimes that's all you need to know the message landed. I don't know what Max will do when he finds out. Maybe he'll deny it. Maybe he'll get angry. Maybe he'll stop talking to me for good. Though, let's be honest, we were already there. But I don't regret it. Because for once, someone asked me for the truth, and I gave it to them, without bitterness. Without noise. Just facts. He wrote one more letter. But this one wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to be found. It happened on a rainy Sunday. The kind of day where time feels heavy and slow, and memories creep in uninvited. I was digging through one of the last moving boxes I had shoved in the closet months ago. It was mostly junk, old cables, mismatched socks, a couple of books I hadn't opened in years. And then I saw it. A small brown envelope. No stamp. No label. Just my name, again, in Dad's handwriting. I froze. It wasn't the one Mom gave me. This was something else. Something hidden. My hands shook a little as I opened it, like muscle memory was bringing back the weight of that first letter. Inside, not a full page. Just a single torn piece of lined paper. But the words? They hit harder than anything he'd ever said aloud. If this finds you, it means I didn't get to say it in person. I'm sorry I wasn't better at showing it. But I was proud of you. Not just for what you did for me, but for who you are when no one's looking. I've made mistakes. And I know our family isn't perfect. But when I think about legacy, it's not the house. It's not the money. It's you. Be better than me. Be softer. Stay strong. Let go. I sat on the floor for a long time, the letter open in my lap, the sound of rain tapping against the window. Let go. That part echoed. Like he knew. Like he saw how long I'd been carrying things I never should have been asked to carry. Later that night, I called my sister. Just to talk. She told me she was finally thinking about moving out. She had a friend she could stay with for a while, until she got her own place. I told her, good. You deserve air. We talked for 2 hours. Laughed. Cried a little. It was the closest I'd felt to family in years. And for once, there was no guilt. No expectations. Just two people who had made it out of the same fire, and finally started healing. These days, life is quiet. But peaceful. I still have the cufflinks on my shelf. And now, I keep both letters side by side. Not as trophies. Not as proof, but as reminders of what was real, of what I gave, and of what I finally let go. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I just got out. And sometimes, that's more than enough. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.